everybody, and welcome to Fight and Focus. I'm Josh Shernoff, and we are here to talk all things Ice Wars. Ice Wars, of course, comes to you live May 21st, right here on FITE with their debut show, but also kind of a returning show. We'll talk all about that. My guest today, we have none other than Kaelin, and of course, the president of Ice Wars, AJ Galante. Gentlemen, welcome to Fight and Focus.
Thanks for having us, man. Really looking forward to this whole event.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
I keep bumping into AJ everywhere, so this is exciting for me. One day, AJ and I will actually be in the same room together.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
So let's jump right into it. Of course, we're here to promote Ice Wars, which comes to you live on FITE this coming Saturday, May 21st. But this is kind of, it's an interesting thing. It's the first show, it's the first event of Ice Wars, yet it's also kind of a rebirth, if you will. So can you take us back in time? I believe it was called, I have here, Battle of the Hockey Enforcer in 2006. AJ, can you take us back and set that up? Of course, by the way, that event is available now on FITE. So go watch that if you kind of want to see where this all began. But can you take us back to just the beginning of this and how we got here to Ice Wars?
Yeah, I mean, it's you talk about life kind of going full circle. I mean, I was involved with the Danbury Trashers minor league hockey team from 2004 to 2006. We were kind of known for being little nuts, little rough and tumble there, a lot of fighting. And I remember actually in 2006 going into the All-Star break, there was talks in the locker room about, hey, did you hear about this tournament going on in Prince George? And I was like, no. And they were like, yeah, it's going to be like some of the toughest guys in the sport, battling it out. There was a big cash prize, obviously. And I was like, so I remember hearing about it. Fortunately, we lost a team in the summer of 06, so I kind of lost track of it all. But yeah, let's flash forward about 15, 16 years later. I was introduced to one of the principal promoters of that 06 event, Charlie Nama, and he wanted to bring us on board to get involved and kind of rebrand this, recreate it. So, Ice Wars was kind of born from there. But you're right, it's kind of a reincarnation, a rebranding, repackaging of the original Battle of the Hockey Enforcers in 16 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing to be able to, and I feel like, it kind of is on par with most entertainment out there where people are relaunching old things that worked in the past, but maybe it wasn't the right time for it. And now in 2022, it's the right time. And for people who aren't necessarily familiar with it, maybe we'll jump in here to Kato. Kaelin, if you could tell us what is Ice Wars, because you, of course, and then also tell us how you got involved, because you're a producer. But you were telling me off air, it's very interesting how you ended up being a part of this. So if you want to fill us in on that, and then just tell everybody what Ice Wars is.
Josh, I'm going to go full 360 and give you a circle of all of this. So I think and AJ explained some stuff just terrific, that, it is prize fighting on ice. And I was, a long time ago, I got to go to a few UFC fights in the front, and I kept going, this concept it's just genius. This is when it kind of started. I said, my God, this is fantastic. And then a buddy of mine, Charlie Nama, who I've known for over 15 years, Charlie and I had other businesses. When he had mentioned Ice Wars, of the fighting on ice, I said, so you're saying there's going to be fighting on ice. I'm from Wisconsin. I've done ice skating. I said, you know how hard it is to actually be on skates and to fight? I said, this is an incredible art form. And, I can't say if it's tougher than UFC, but it's prize fighting. It's an art form, and you have to have the best coordination. And I said, Charlie, this is genius. I've done a lot of Hollywood pitches for TV shows, working on them right now. But this pitch that Charlie had, it's a 10-second pitch. You say it's ice fighting. It's on a rink. Someone's going to be, as AJ did, the king of the rink with a crown. I said all the elements are there. In 10 seconds, you can tell people. And if you have that, you have a winning idea, because they get it. And I was producing on this. I have a lot of contacts in the entertainment field. I hooked up Charlie with quite a few entertainment lawyers, contract lawyers, and all that. And so we had it going, and it worked out. The important thing is that AJ's dad, Jimmy, Charlie approached Jimmy to be part of Ice Wars, and Jimmy said, If you can get to my door at 10 a.m., we'll talk. Charlie drove from Detroit, Michigan as soon as he hung up that phone. I think it was an 11-hour drive. He knocked on the door, and Jimmy said, this is a guy I could work with. And so, as you know, we're speaking to you now, Josh, with AJ. So it's all this culmination of this, and it's working. And Fight TV, May 21st. We're just hoping it's going to be fantastic. I'm getting married, but we're doing pay-per-view at the house while the marriage vows are going on.
And congratulations on your upcoming nuptials. And yeah, how great is that? You're going to get married while Ice Wars is playing on the TV. That's how committed you are to this.
It's David Zucker. I'm proud to say he did the Airplane movies. He did Naked Gun, scary movies, tons of movies, over $1 billion in revenue in his films. Mm-hmm. Having it at his house, he's already an Ice War fanatic. And I think AJ, I keep hitting up AJ to going, hey, can you get this guy a jersey? Can you get this guy a jersey? And AJ is just busy at the printing press going, geez, Kato, how many shirts? You got a full hockey team.
Well, AJ, if you can get this guy a jersey. But no, I think this show, it's been mentioned before that somebody will be crowned king of the rink. So this is an 8-man tournament.
Yeah.
To walk everybody through this. So again, we're saying, this is it's been called the best part of hockey without the hockey. But everybody, if you took a snapshot of it, right, just a picture for a second, no context to anybody, they would think that they're seeing a picture of people fighting in the middle of a hockey game, right? Like they're...
Oh, I mean, 1,000%. I mean, it's... I grew up with hockey. I mean, frankly, the physicality of hockey, the fighting of hockey is kind of what drew me in as a young kid. Mm-hmm. I'm talking early 90s, really. It was definitely a different time. The sport of hockey itself is definitely different now. So it's a lot faster, more skilled.
Sure.
There's still some physicality there. It's just not what it was. But like I tell people, listen, this is really a brand new combat sport. I mean, I've been in boxing now over a decade. Yes, it definitely looks like hockey. We're on ice. We're in hockey gear. We're not trying to pull a wool over anyone's eyes, but this is indeed a different sport. There's regulations, there's player safety. I mean, as you guys probably know, I know Fight TV knows about it, all the hoops you got to jump through to even put on an event like this.
Yeah.
Dare I say that our fights might be a little safer than the NHL's current fights that do happen on occasion. And it's each bout is so our King of the Rink tournament. This show, it's 8-man single elimination. We got some big boys in there. I tell you, I think our lightest guy is 230. We got guy all the way up to 325. It's insane. But single elimination, each bout is 2 1-minute rounds with a 1-minute break in between. Obviously, referee stoppages, knockouts, but there is a point system like boxing, MMA. There are judges. Never will be a draw. If it goes after 2 rounds, if it's deemed a draw, it goes into an immediate 30-second icebreaker round, which is kind of like sudden death. One thing being in the boxing industry, I hate draws. It makes no sense to me. And every other sport has overtime, right, or extra innings. So we figured there's no way we could ever leave an event where there's any sort. There might be some controversy, but not from a draw.
Right. No, and that's great. That's something, because when people are tuning into this, you're right. I mean, how many times have you seen a boxing match where you've kind of left disappointed, saying, well, hey, they're still both standing here. Let's keep going. Let's finish this.
Absolutely.
Josh, I think a really, really cool thing that we're doing is that AJ, these guys are bruisers. They're enforcers. They are tough guys. It's going to be great to see the fan base build. The fan base will start building on them with social media, and it's sort of like the first UFC fight. You never knew back then, Chuck Liddell, who's that? Then he gets a fan base. Tito Ortiz.
Right.
We're going to see the growth of this as the first one ever. And I think that's why it's so important. I think the first person who becomes king of the rink and AJ gives him the crown, I just think it's just going to be this new thing that catches on, that people are going, did you see this Ice Wars thing? This is insane. And I think that's how word of mouth builds events, from UFC, mixed martial arts. And it's so exciting to be on the bottom floor to watch it, raise up to the heavens. It's just really exciting.
So you said something that got me thinking, and now I'm going to do a whole roundabout way to get to a question. But what you talked about the beginning of UFC, and my mind immediately went to Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn, and my thought on that then went to pro wrestling, and we have AJ here, who's been spending a little bit of time hanging out over on NXT on the USA Network, and so I did want to ask you a little bit about that, how that came about. Because you're definitely one of the more entertaining aspects of the show. People are really loving what you guys are doing on there. But after you tell us how that came about, or maybe you need to tell this first part of the story first, I want to hear about maybe I'm wrong here, a 7th birthday, a birthday party where you had some pretty big name people show up at your birthday party, one of which I believe has gone on to become probably the biggest name in all of entertainment. So if you can kind of walk us through that, because I think when you're finished telling that story, people might also appreciate a little bit of the sports entertainment aspect of what's being brought to Ice Wars. And I don't mean in the predetermined, I mean in the entertainment aspect of the sport.
I mean, I've been a wrestling fan. I don't know. I mean, I feel like every young kid has come across wrestling, whether they stuck with it or not. Wrestling to me was always my first love. And, I remember, I think it was 1993, going to Madison Square Garden to see I think it was Bret Hart versus Psycho Sid. I mean, I've always been a huge wrestling guy, and almost obsessive to the point where, that was my biggest punishment growing up, is they take wrestling away from me. You know what I mean? And it was like,
I do.
My mom still has, I'm pretty sure my mom still has a note I left under her door once in 1998 when she grounded me and I couldn't watch a pay-per-view, and I was basically pleading, pleading to let me watch whatever the pay-per-view was. But and then in 1997 I was turning 11 actually,
Okay,
and the day before, my dad was saying how so my father was friendly with the old wrestler Captain Lou Albano from way back in the day, and he lived in our area. And I guess WWF at the time was in the Connecticut area for a house show the same day as my birthday. One thing led to another, and obviously it was before they really blew. But we had Triple H, China, The Rock, Billy Gunn, the Honky Tonk Man. I mean, they just pulled up to the birthday party. Came hung out by the pool. It was insane. I mean, it's still to this day. Kind of like Kato said, being at the first Ice Wars is going to become a big memory. I mean, I still have friends that talk about that birthday, that when they were there, and they're like, wow, I can't believe, every time I see The Rock, I think of your birthday.
Especially now that The Rock just happens to be the biggest movie star in the world, right?
Yeah.
And he was hanging out at your 11th birthday party.
Yeah, I like to think they all went on to have pretty big careers after that birthday party. So I like to think that them coming to us, we kind of rubbed off on them somehow. So I think we're a good luck charm, maybe. Who knows?
I think Young Rock season 3 is going to have your birthday party as a turning point in his career. It's going to be featured in there.
Hey, you know what? He did join the Nation of Domination about 3-4 months after my birthday party, and that's when he kind of took off. So you never know.
You need to just start telling the story of I pulled him aside at that birthday party. And I said, where you need to be.
I think The Rock made The Rock made a big mistake by doing the USFL. He should have been part of Ice Wars immediately. I think him promoting it. He went to the USFL. The ratings aren't going so good there. Rock, you should have got on board the AJ train.
So, and it's interesting, and I know that you're making a joke, but it's interesting because it goes back to something, Kato, that you had said earlier about this being an art form. And there's something to be said for the fact that, the people who are stepping on here are used to, obviously they know how to skate. Obviously they know how to fight when they're skating, a bunch of enforcers here. But how complicated is that to be able to actually, you're not talking about, hey, we got into a disagreement, a little bit of a brawl. The entire intent of this is to fight and to actually win, as opposed to something where, okay, we're going to throw a couple of punches and then the refs and the rest of the team's going to come separate this. How difficult is that for these fighters to be on ice with all that gear, doing all that?
Well,
I'm sorry. I should have pointed that to somebody. Yeah.
It's okay. I'll let AJ. I'm going to just mention. I think the big part is, first of all, you're right. They're used to being on ice. They're used to fighting. But I think the motivation is going to be the live crowd and the motivation of money and the motivation of being crowned. And I think if you watch any sport, the crowd gives you energy. And we're gonna see maybe some of the guys that are fighting. You see their records of the most knockouts. I mean, that's who I would be betting on. But I think motivation is the king of the rink and the money. AJ.
No, you're 100% right, and that's what I try to explain to people is the difference. And I think you just hit it on the head. In hockey, there's a lot of fights, skirmishes that happen in the heat of the moment. Crashing the net. Guys are ornery. You know how it is. This is a situation where, like a combat sport, you're going to fight. Like sometimes, listen, in the heat of the moment in hockey, and I've personally been there. You get into some scrums. It happens. But these guys, and again, it reminds me a lot of the boxing. I deal with a lot of fighters here, and mentally, it's a whole different ballgame. They have to the whole mental aspect is 20 times harder with this sport. And aside from that, like you said, I mean, just the agility to be able to stay on the ice with all that extra. I mean, it's like fighting with like a 25 to 40 pound waist.
Yeah.
A waist, it's create a weight vest, so it's one of those things. Cardio is key. You see a lot of big boys, but after 15, 20 seconds of throwing punches, the cardio is really what's going to separate really who really wants it the most. Because, I mean, the average hockey fight, I believe, is 20 to 25 seconds. I mean, and each round is a minute. So there definitely is a strategy to it. And, it's going to be very interesting for sure. But Kato hit it on the head. I think hockey guys have always been more humble, I feel like, opposed to other sports. And a lot of these guys have messaged me like, we want that crown, man. I mean, to be able to go home with that thing, I mean, that could potentially become imagine winning the first ever UFC belt. You know what I mean? Or I'm not a UFC guy, so I don't know who won it. But to be able to see where UFC is now, to say I won the first one, I mean, that's legendary.
Yeah, I mean,
I think two other things.
Yeah, please.
I was going to say two other things to add that. And by the way, AJ, I'm a KFC guy later for lunch. But I think that two of the things that I think will happen, Josh, will be. I really think AJ's got a boxing gym. I think what will happen is people are going to start learning how to pull the jersey over someone. I think you'll see that with a guy can't see. And I guarantee you, after the success of the first one, AJ is going to find out how many boxers that don't skate are going to go up to him to say, I box, teach me to skate. I think people are going to line up for that, where they're going to go, I can box, I can't skate. I want to learn this new thing. And I think it's just going to be this. I mean, look how many people started UFC gyms because people saw the first thing. And you got gyms all over California here of fighting gyms. This, like I said, I'm knocking on wood, but I think this is the start of something where boxers go, AJ or someone, teach me to skate. I want to skate and fight. So, like I said, this is the ground level, and it's so many things can happen.
I think you're right. I would not be surprised if you start seeing ice rinks starting to open up where you look and you go, what is it? There's a fighting session going on here, and people are training to do something like this because, again, we talked about you have to train to do something like this. You can't, this is not the same as just, okay, yeah, I can box and, okay, I know how to skate around a rink in circles, so I guess I'll be all right. Like, this is going to be the muscles that you're going to be activating. It's not normal. Yeah. It's not what normally happens there. We'll pause for 1 second because AJ seems to have dropped out.
No, AJ got knocked out. He was fighting.
He's gone.
He just got knocked out. AJ's knocked out. Folks, we got Kato, king of the rink. Woo!
Well, there you go. You won by forfeit here. We'll see if he comes back on, and then we'll decide. We'll keep talking because we'll see if maybe we'll cut it or whatnot.
I'll tell you, when you brought up Josh, you brought up a great point. When you see like these people, when you train, you don't even need the ice rink. Part of the training that Charlie Nama got, he bought synthetic ice, which is just like skating on the real thing.
I didn't even think about that.
Synthetic ice. We can have outdoor events. You can have a gym could have its own ice. That's why I think it's going to catch on. I think if I was to buy stock, I'd find out who these synthetic ice companies are. I just think it's wide open. It's wide open for a new sport, and I just think the public is hungry for that. Calgary and Alberta, you've got two teams. Edmonton, they got them in the NHL finals. We lucked out because Saturday, May 21st, there's no game for them. And I just think the people in the area, if we're not sold out, I know Section 102, where they have the rowdy sections, already sold out. But at the River Creek Casino, I don't know if we're sold out or not, but I think people can hopefully get tickets if we're not sold out. I just think the energy of this crowd, a sellout, and people, the camera shots of people just going, "What? This is insanity!" Yeah. Showing the 102 and the fighting and the chanting. Like I said, ground floor, exciting.
It's going to be really exciting. I just got a message from AJ that says his phone overheated, and he's restarting it now, and he apologizes. But I think, you know what? Let's keep going here while we wait for him to come back here. You know why his phone's overheating? Because he is getting messages nonstop from people wanting to be a part of Ice Wars. And one of the aspects, are you a professional wrestling fan?
Well, like I said, I grew up, I'm older guy. I grew up with three other brothers. That's all we did was watch wrestling on Sundays, where we had people, the brothers. We really went at it because we were convinced. You remember a guy called the Crusher? I'm from Milwaukee. I know. The Crusher. We always wanted to be the Crusher, and whoever was Vern Gagne, that was the boring wrestler. We were like, no, I want to be the Crusher and the Bruiser, man. I'm a Milwaukee guy. So yeah, I think the events we wanted to sort of emulate WWE events, the energy. AJ, like, he's been at these events, and we have a huge backer, and I think you probably know a gentleman named Pat McAfee. He is gung ho. Yes. He's all chips in. He's in. He thinks it's the greatest idea ever.
And here's a guy.
He was saying
Pat McAfee. I was going to say just wrestled at WrestleMania. Yeah, Pat McAfee every week there. He does an amazing job on commentary. He is a character and a personality for sure. Also an incredible athlete. So he's a guy who has the mind for both entertainment and athletics. Of course, his own show. He's done relatively well, I think we could say, with his show. Here comes AJ back.
Yeah, it's a great point you brought up, Josh, because he knows sports. And I think Pat, like McAfee, he knows something that's a winner. He would never back up something if he's going to go into a losing sport. He knows this is a winner.
No,
and I think it's so important that we have a backing of that, of a guy like a Pat McAfee who's promoting it, because he believes as much as AJ does, as me, and everybody involved. And I think that's why we became this family.
Well, I think, and AJ, welcome back. I let everybody know that your phone overheated. Too many people are messaging you. I got knocked out
there. Sorry about that.
Too many people are messaging you and saying, how can I watch Ice Wars? How can I be a part of Ice Wars?
That's partly true. 1,000%. Yes.
No, but hey, thank you for coming.
It's also because AJ's got a Fisher Price phone. AJ, get rid of that phone.
So my question, I was just talking to Kato about this, is I wanted to tie everything back around to professional wrestling. Obviously, you being down there in NXT, being a huge fan, but now being there behind the scenes and seeing, how they make the sausage, so to speak. Are you bringing any of, as we mentioned earlier, sports entertainment to this? Now, of course, these fights are legit. These are really, these are legitimate fights. Nothing is predetermined, nothing scripted in that regard. However, I believe that UFC, for instance, I think when UFC really took off is when they said, okay, everything's a little pro wrestling. Let's put a little more emphasis on personalities of the fighters and characters and the overall appearance. Is that something that with Ice Wars we can expect a little bit more personality from these fighters?
1,000,000,000%. I mean, awesome. That to me is it's the most important thing. I mean, and I just got the icon. My thing is overheating again. So in case something happens, all right, yes, 100% sports entertainment. There's going to be look, we call these guys by their nicknames. It's not even their full names, okay? We just signed a guy, Kato. His name is Moose. So the Moose is going to be loose this Friday, this Saturday. So, I mean, it's just
the lion. AJ, Moose has got to fight the lion.
Yeah, listen, it's got a little bit of like American Gladiators to it as well. I mean, it's like it's got like a 90s feel to it in a way. And You know, I'm really looking forward to it. And it's sports. I mean, and these hockey guys got to learn to actually let their personality out because, frankly, hockey guys are humble. They're not really used to being able to. And I said, look, guys, this isn't hockey. Let your personality show.
Yeah, I mean, with hockey, it's the same with a lot of sports where there's a helmet, right? You're not seeing these faces, and in something like pro wrestling, your face is everything. That's what's telling the story. That's what people are connecting with. So I feel like there's going to be a little learning curve to the fighters here, but once they get a hang of it, I mean, I don't have to tell you guys. Once somebody gets that bug and that entertainment bug, then you can't shut them up. Then yeah.
Josh, that is what AJ's saying is so important because they want to build on that. And like I said, I know hockey players, they are humble, but with the training and all that, when they see reactions from social media or whatever they do, I mean, I'm even telling AJ, it maybe one of the fighters, when he gets a tooth knocked out, he goes to the crowd and gives it to somebody. It's just these little things that'll matter. $100 a tooth or something. We have different things you could.
Listen, there are people who will hands down pay $100 for a tooth. From
1,000,000%.
So.
Well, the unfortunate thing, to be honest with you, is I don't even think we have a full set of teeth amongst all 14 guys in the whole show. So they're going to be at a premium. So the supply demand, I mean, those things can go for some good money.
Yeah, way more than 100. Kato, I think you muted yourself accidentally. Kato, I don't know if I think you muted yourself. I'm not sure how that happened, but it says guest has muted themselves. We'll clean that up, but yeah. It's still. Do you want to come out and back in? I can't hear the explanation.
Language inside.
I was gonna say I can tell you my name. That's it. So if you want to come out and come back in, it'll probably fix it, I bet. Or it'll at least just reset it. I say I won't. Part of me wants to just leave this in, but I won't do that to you.
You should. I think you should. Listen,
I should. I have your permission. We're in. It's staying in.
Listen. You know how it is for a fight week. This is our first show. These type of things you can't. You got to leave them in. This is how it is.
And that honestly, that's it. That's the beauty and the scary thing about being live when you guys go live is you don't know what's going to happen, and that's what makes it that much more enticing. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, Kato, I want to hear what you have to say. But you want to go out and come back in? Or do you want me to wrap it up? Wrap it up? I can't. Okay, 1 minute. He's gone. Okay, 1 minute. All right. So okay, he's out and he's going to come back in and we're going to be good to go with that. But we're keeping that in. You guys are going to get to enjoy this entire thing.
You have to, because one day if we become into this big, sophisticated sport, we'll be able to rerun this. And,
yes, absolutely.
You got to keep them in.
There?
You're back. You're back.
Yeah, baby!
All right, so what was everything we missed? What were you saying?
You know what? What was the last thing AJ said? I forgot.
I have no idea.
We were talking about the guys not having a full set of teeth to give away. So,
yes.
I said we have a great idea for the teeth. At intermission, we have certain players who are going to have a bobbing for applesauce contest.
See, it was worth it to get through all of that just to get that joke in there.
I love it.
Well, listen, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. This was a lot of fun. I think a lot more fun than we even anticipated it being. But I am psyched for this. I can't wait to watch it. Of course, it's at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, May 21st, right here on FITE. It's called Ice Wars. You do not want to miss it. AJ Galante, Kato, Kaelin, thank you guys both so much for being here. I'm Josh Shernoff. We will see all of you Saturday, May 21st, right here on FITE.